Hey everybody, welcome to the ZB Network podcast. I'm Spiegelwee. Over here on my right we have Hextuple.
Hey guys.
On my left I have Zyber.
Hey.
And in the middle I have Piddle. Piddle in the middle.
I'm behind you. Hello.
I have that image in my mind.
I'm looking at my Skype screen, right? Because we do Skype calls, and I have Zyber on the left, and Hex is on the right, and then Piddle's like in front of me. And I'm like, well, I can't say.
You broke the illusion.
No,
people don't know that we use Skype for these. They thought we were all in the same room at a table with really good mics and.
Well, you know what we do fly everybody in. This is a special episode where we had to do Skype because
we have no money. Just kidding.
Yeah, because people won't watch our podcast. If you want us to be able to do this in the same room, why don't you go ahead and just right now just like our show and subscribe
and write us a check. Write us a check for $1,000 so that we can buy ourselves an office and
please send that check to ZB Net Incorporated, and we will get that to
PO Box 470487.
So today we have a very special episode in which we are going to be doing a 2014 year in review. We started this show back in August, and we've been doing it fairly consistently since then. And I thought at the beginning of the whole thing, like, wouldn't it be cool if we sort of did a recap of everything that happened this year and sort of talk about it in gaming, of course. Don't care so much about real life stuff. So we're gonna do just that. I'm gonna go over like all the big game releases, big events, and we're gonna just like give our little bit on each one, and hopefully it's enjoyable to listen to. And if it's not, we'll never do it again. But I think it'll be cool. So let's just go ahead and get started. January 2014. Not much happened. Nothing that I think is notable. I don't think I forgot anything on this big list here.
Did Infamous Second Son come out?
I don't think so. I thought that was 2013. Maybe I'm wrong. Actually, I just looked at it. Infamous did not come out in January. It actually came out in March. We were both wrong. So we'll talk about that. I didn't have it on my list for some reason. But moving on into February, our first major game of the year. We're talking about this because Piddle has played it. It's Bravely Default for the Nintendo 3DS on February 7th.
Yes, and great game. They did a lot to sort of revamp combat in RPGs, especially portable RPGs. You can fast forward every random encounter. You can even do auto battle for the encounters too. So grinding, it's quick if you need to grind it all, or if you want to grind it all.
That's awesome.
And the music is phenomenal. They use I think they pretty much use a penny flute, or I think it's called
pan flute.
Yeah, it just works beautifully.
It's just one of those Square Enix RPGs, right?
A little bit better than their more recent efforts.
More like a classic SquareSoft, right?
They tried to go back to their roots with these games, where they just went back to just having the
turn-based battle.
Turn-based battle, yeah. They tried to have exploration, kind of big world map. Not much about story, because actually the story was really awful to me.
Yeah, that is the one thing that sort of killed Bravely Default for me. I mean, the combat was great.
Yeah.
Every location you went to was just like you'd step foot into a new town and it would zoom out and show the whole town, and it looked gorgeous. And then you start moving around and it'd zoom in, and it still looked amazing. I mean, it had sort of this like painting sort of quality to it.
Error.
And then what happened? The characters and the story it seemed to go nowhere.
But apart from those criticisms, you guys would generally recommend this to any fan of any JRPGs?
Classic JRPG fans, yeah. I would say so. People who are longing for that original, like that traditional take on JRPGs, because modern JRPGs are pretty far removed from what they used to be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, modern JRPGs do absolutely nothing for me. And I mean, literally, if this game had any semblance of like really interesting characters, and I mean, maybe they developed further into the story and I just didn't get there, but that's a fault of the game. But yeah, if it had great characters, I would have been hooked from beginning to end completely. And that's all I was really missing.
So I bought Bravely Default on a summer sale with like Tomodachi Life this year, and I have not played it yet. But it's on my list. It's one of those priority type games, so I will get to it sooner rather than later. And it sounds, by the sound of it, it sounds like it would be good for a good niche of people out there. So if you're interested, check it out. Right. The next game that came out was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, good stuff. This was an early contender for me for Game of the Year. I really enjoyed this game. I honestly have not finished it yet. I'm close-ish. I'm in like World 6. But man, it's just so it's so classic, hard, like really hard platformer with it looks great. It's fun to play, great music, great visuals.
And it's like hard, but you can't blame anybody but yourself. It's great.
Yeah, it's not unfair. It's just like you suck, and it punishes you accordingly for sucking.
The only knock on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is that Nintendo's released so many platformers recently. I mean, they had New Super Mario Brothers U not too long ago, and then followed by the Super Mario 3D World. So
that's like 3 platformers in like 14 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was like the biggest knock against it. And that's what I saw a lot of people complain about. But in terms of the actual quality of the game, it is phenomenal. It is varied gameplay, great tough platforming. That's all I have to say. Oh, great music. By the way,
I remember at the time
fantastic music.
Sorry to interrupt, but I remember at the time that they announced that game, like people were like, "Oh, this sucks. This is like a really safe game." And you know, it kind of is. Like it's safe in the sense that like it's going to be really good, and it is really good. And actually, it probably exceeded a lot of people's expectations. But at the time, it was viewed as like, well, they're just playing it safe. At a time they really couldn't afford to because the Wii U was not selling in 2013. But okay, let's move on.
Just one more note about.
Okay, go ahead.
One more note about the music because I mentioned it was amazing for me. It was actually David Wise who did way back when the original Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2. So he reprised his role as the composer for Tropical Freeze, and that's part of why it just works really well. And they also sort of implement the music within the gameplay too, which I really liked.
That aquatic ambiance.
It was kind of like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, right? With the way they kind of have the music with the gameplay. Anyway.
Move on.
Yeah, let's move on. I don't have anything to say about this next game. February 25th, Thief, PS4, Xbox One, 360, PS3. Thief, anyone?
It looked fantastic in terms of like graphics, and a lot of people were really excited for it. But in terms of overall influence, it seems to have disappointed because, man, that price of Thief has been dropping pretty hard and fast.
Yeah. That's it for that. March 4th. March 4th, we actually mentioned this in the last episode a little bit. South Park Stick of Truth for 360 and PS3. It got great reviews. Everyone seemed to be really happy with it, especially fans of the show. We kind of touched on it in the last one, so.
Yeah, pretty much it comes down to like if you're a fan of South Park and you like playing games, you need to play this game.
Yep. Okay, March 11th, 2 games. Actually, we had Dark Souls 2 for PS3 and 360, and we had Titanfall for the Xbox One. Initially a timed exclusive for the Xbox One.
I'll jump in, I guess. Dark Souls 2, me personally, like, I've tried to play Demon's Souls, and I'll admit, for me, it was more just tedious rather than, like, trial and error, rather than just downright hard. So it's not something that I stuck with, but, I mean, I can see the appeal of it to people. I don't have time for those games anymore, but I mean, by all means, if you like that kind of gameplay, go for it.
And Titanfall was the big like hype game, right? Like I think it was the first big quote unquote next gen like game, so people were super hyped about it.
Yeah, Titanfall, I mean, it did a lot in terms of creating new ways of playing an FPS. I mean, you have all the wall running, the parkour, the Titanfalls, and it was a game that sort of got hurt by the fact that the campaign you could only play online with other people. So shortly after its released, everybody was through the campaign. So I understand it was pretty hard to find campaigns. And then it was a bare bones release. There wasn't much to do in it. And for that reason, I mean, it wasn't really worth $60, and it just sort of fell by the wayside.
Yeah, it kind of fizzled out as a legitimate like next gen option. People are like, oh, you should get the Xbox One for Titanfall, and then it sort of went away, and it was like, whoa, you should get the Xbox One for Sunset Overdrive, which we'll talk about later. Then we had Infamous Second Son, which came out on the 21st of March. I did not play it. A lot of these games I haven't played. I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One yet, so it will have to wait a while.
Infamous Second Son is pretty much a last generation game, just like the previous Infamous games, just with new powers, and with last generation game with next generation graphics, because it looks fantastic. All the neon effects are really impressive to look at.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. We just lost Zyber due to some audio issues. Once again, the issues are continuing, so we're going to try to work this out over the next week before next podcast goes up. So sorry about those issues, and we're going to try to get those resolved. So after Infamous, we had a little bit of a quiet span until April 25th. NES Remix 2 was released. I don't have much to say about that. I didn't buy it because I didn't love the first NES Remix game, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
I never played any of the NES Remix games, but I mean, if you like classic Nintendo games, it's a good game.
For sure.
I'm not one of those people. I can't play old games. I've said that before.
I'm more interested in talking about the next game.
Okay, the next game is Child of Light, which is another game. Have not played it yet. I actually do own it, and I intend to play it for sure because it looks awesome. For PS4, Wii U, and the Xbox One. And the Vita. Okay, that's one of those rare games that actually came out for pretty much everything, and actually was good. So,
if you have played a Grandia game, however you pronounce it, Child of Light, pretty much, it sort of lifts the battle system from Grandia game and puts it into like a 2D side scroller that uses the same UbiArt framework that's seen in the current Rayman games. Mm-hmm. And if you've never played a Grandia game, you're missing out. The battle system is, for me personally, like probably the best implementation of the more traditional ATB system that's used in the old Final Fantasy games like Final Fantasy 6 and 7 and Chrono Trigger and 8. And how the battle system works is pretty much like whenever there's a wait period where you can't really do anything, and then there's an action period. And like after your wait period's done, you put in the action that you want to perform for your attack, and then the action period is like the performance of that action. And the games are great because if you time out your actions to hit an enemy while the enemy's in their action period, you will actually sort of reset their whole timer for their attack. So it just adds another dimension to turn-based gameplay. It makes it a little bit more strategic, or I can think it makes it a lot more strategic. And Child of Light utilizes that. It adds some other new wrinkles to that kind of system. So if you've never experienced a Grandia game, or if you have and you want more of it, I highly suggest Child of Light. Great atmosphere, great characters, great music, and great battle system.
Yeah, I do own the game. I have not had a chance to play it yet just because I've got such a crazy backlog. And I'm obsessive compulsive about it, so I can't play a game until I've beat it. So like you were talking about how you drop Bravely Default. Well, I can't just stop playing a game and go pick up another one that I want to play just because I just can't bring myself to do it. But Child of Light is also on my list, and I do really want to play it. So the next thing on my list here of games and events, this is actually our first event of the year. May 20th, Nintendo shut down their Wii and DS Wi-Fi services. So that was a sad day for many.
I didn't much care.
I think they pretty much did it just to get... I mean, it's pretty obvious what they did because...
Mario Kart came out 10 days later.
A week and a half later. Yeah, Mario Kart 8. And they wanted to get people off of Mario Kart Wii. They wanted people to pretty much invest in the Wii U because...
And they did.
The Wii U was not doing well. It was doing pretty horribly at that point.
To the tune of about 2.5 million consoles, and a 50% attach rate, Mario Kart 8 sold those Wii U consoles. So Mario Kart 8, huge sales success in terms of percentage of consoles sold. And Hex's favorite number is attach rate. And what
my favorite number is attach rate?
Yeah, your favorite stat when it comes to video game sales?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Mario Kart 8, huge sales success. We don't need to talk about how awesome that game is. We just skipped over Watch Dogs, which came out on the 27th. And you wouldn't have thought at the beginning of the year that we'd be like glazing over Watch Dogs, given how much that game was hyped. But it was just sort of Titanfall.
Yeah, open world game. When they first revealed it, everybody loved how it was like, oh, hey, this is a game that's open world. That's not all about shooting.
I fell for it. I was a sucker. I thought it looked amazing.
Yep, and then what happened? It was 90% shooting. But it seems like, sort of like the first Assassin's Creed, the framework is in place to build off of it. And hopefully if they make Watch Dogs 2, it's going to be a lot better.
Well, it sold like 7 million units, so I think total. So, I mean, they'd be stupid not to make a sequel, right? Just based on the sales.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so following that, last major game release before E3 was Tomodachi Life, and I'm only mentioning this because this game is sold like crazy in the UK for some reason. And I wish we had like Chris or Dan on to talk about this, but man, Tomodachi Life. Who would have thought?
Yeah, why? I don't understand how a life sim like that gets so much.
I'm not sure.
Traction. Would you classify it as a life sim?
Yeah, well, in a sense, I don't know. If you've played the game, if you guys played it, because I have.
I have not.
Hex, have you played?
Nope.
Tomodachi Life? Okay, well, basically, it's as crazy as advertised. I'm not sure why it would sell so much better in the UK. There's like nothing in it that speaks British to me. In fact, it's so Japanese that it's almost like unplayable in America.
Maybe
because, like, I don't get
the
it.
lives are just that awful in the UK that...
I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, UK people have a weird sense of humor. So maybe that has something to do with it, because that game is weird. It's a weird game. I love it, but it's bizarre, to say the least. But I'm glad I bought it. I think it was a good purchase. If you like weird games, Tomodachi Life is your thing. Okay, so moving on. From June 10th to the 12th, we had E3. We had a bunch of big reveals, especially from Nintendo, who had one of their best conferences in years, in my opinion. Probably in everyone else's opinion, too. I mean, who honestly thought that Nintendo didn't win E3 this year?
Yeah, some people did, but I don't believe them because they're crazy.
They're lying. Because, I mean, come on.
Nintendo won E3. Nintendo won E3 just by virtue of Zelda U. And, I mean...
And it helped that they not only had Zelda U, they had a new IP in Splatoon. They had like 2 new games that they showed, major franchises, Kirby and Yoshi, that are supposedly going to use the gamepad in major ways. The new Star Fox game was teased, and they had Smash Brothers, which, like I said in the other show, pretty much just dominated the event. That was it. They just had everything.
Good game. Everybody else go home.
Yeah, that's it. So then the 26th, Shovel Knight for PC, Wii U, 3DS.
A game we all mean to play and we have not.
Yep, basically. I own it. Going to play it in the next couple weeks.
I've watched a lot of it.
What are your thoughts on that, Hex, then? Since you
solid classic. I mean, they really captured the spirit of that era, like the 8-bit era.
It looks like a Mega Man game, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's great. If you like the feel of that, it's like a super polished classic experience from a modern eye. It's really cool.
Does it have like glitches in it too? Like that you can just exploit? I'm curious.
I wouldn't know. I don't think I've seen enough of it to really say for sure. Maybe
that probably would have been a nice touch.
Maybe they wanted to do some like deliberate glitches to exploit, but I'm not aware of
That's
any.
what I'm saying, yeah. Just to make it like one of those really old, like in the Mega Man game where the I can't remember what boss it is, but he just like disappears.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of the fight, yeah. So moving along, actually we had like a 2-month drought at that point of anything new, really, because it's the summer. August 29th, the new 3DS was announced, further ruining Nintendo's chances at ever selling any substantial number of 3DSs this holiday season. We can complain about that at length, right?
Nope, I'm done complaining about that.
Yeah,
no, I think it's cool.
It is what it is. It's a 3DS with a little bit more power, loads things faster, and we'll have some games that are exclusive for it.
Well, I'm getting it because I'm a sucker, so yeah.
The thing that I didn't realize about the new 3DS is they're integrating a camera stick for it, and I was unaware that the CirclePad Pro had to use up that much extra power from the 3DS, and that's why it's not really been utilized with a lot of games, because it's pretty much pulling away resources
It's like
from what those games can do.
It's like a parasite. Just latches onto your system and it just sucks the life out of it.
Yep, it's sentient too.
I mean, that's sort of a disappointment. My issue with the new 3DS is like, why was there not a camera stick in the first place?
So that they could do the new 3DS, right?
This was their plan from the start.
They planned it that way.
It's almost like the Wii all over again. Hey guys, we're gonna add in a Wii Motion Plus halfway through the generation,
and we're gonna screw everyone who already bought 4 Wii remotes.
Yeah.
By the way, like me. Okay. I'm getting too salty. Let's move on. September 2nd, big release, and this is one of the first ones actually in my mind that stuck out as being an example of one of the biggest problems in the gaming industry, which is games are being released and they are not polished and they are not done. And The Sims 4 came out for PC, and it was kind of a mess.
Well, for me, I'm done with The Sims ever since it's pretty much gone Origin exclusive. But enough about that. The issue is, I mean, like all the features they removed, and fans were really, really not happy that they're removing pools and whatever. And then the thing is, they had like the audacity to say, well, hey, you know, we just couldn't do it in this new engine. We couldn't add pools in this new engine. And then like what happens like a couple months later, oh, hey, here's pools, everybody, that we were probably planning for downloadable content that was going to cost you money, but you know, now it's free.
Yeah, they screwed up.
And like the thing is, it's for anybody who's a fan of The Sims, it's almost a complete insult, because with The Sims, you already have the original game come out, and then you will have a dozen expansions, if not more, that are going to come out after that each cost $20, $30 a piece. I mean, you can spend like $400, $500 on each Sims game.
Yeah, like if you play The Sims, that's like the only game you play, because that's the only thing you can afford to play. You know, that's what it feels like. It's like taking over your world. I mean, you know, I'm in favor of escapism as much as anyone else is, but come on, there's got to be a limit, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, EA just pushed it a little bit too far with The Sims 4, but yeah, that's enough about that.
The next, huge game, biggest game release of the year, arguably, would be September 9th, Destiny. Another game that just initially, at least, felt kind of underwhelming. Like I said, I haven't played a lot of these games. I know enough about Destiny to be able to say this. Of course, some jerk in the comments was like, you haven't even played it, you can't make that statement. But I'm making a statement. I think Destiny was kind of underwhelming. I was a lot more excited for it than what it ended up being after the game.
Seems like the gunplay is fantastic, just like you would expect from a developer like Bungie. But the general consensus seems to be that they pulled a lot of the story content out of the game at the last minute. When the game came out, there was a lot of issue with items and picking up purple engram or legendary engrams and not necessarily getting a legendary item. And then, yeah, like if you don't know about the story, they pretty much sounds like they cut a lot of it out and then, decided, hey, we need to get something in there. So they added, I think it was like a cards, like trading cards or something like that. And pretty much you had to go onto a website and read up more about the story of the game. And it was just sort of like, hey, we can't fit this into the game, so we're going to throw something else into the game. And then you're just going to have to exit the game, go to the website, and learn more about the story.
Ugh, everything you just explained to me just sounds so disgusting, and like I don't want to deal with all that crap. Just give me a game. I just want to play a game.
Yeah, and it pulls you out of the game. Like, okay, it's an inconvenience to the gamer.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of videos out there pretty much explaining like how much of a mess the Destiny story is. And it's sort of a shame, because I mean, like with a name like Destiny, you're going to think it's going to have a great story.
And it did sell. It sold. People were suckered in again, just like Watch Dogs.
It sold, and people are addicted to the game, and people are still playing the game. And it sounds like they've made a lot of changes for the better.
Go ahead, Hex.
Some for the worse, or yeah, some not necessarily for the better. But
one thing I want to emphasize is that unlike a lot of games, like this, the fact that this is an MMO and then it's kind of like a framework more so than like a package deal, is that even though it had a rough start, it's not like a train wreck or anything like that, because they've been able to remedy some of the issues that they had out the gate, and they've also been able to introduce some new ideas in the forms of expansions and things like that. So when you have an MMO as a platform, it's almost like its own platform, right? Like you look at WoW and things like that. They can grow it so that opinions can change over time. Kind of like the opinion of the Wii U has changed over time because of how they've been able to grow the content that they put on that platform. So while it was rough at the start, I think it should be mentioned that the game continues to grow into something that is a bit more special than when it was out the gate.
I mean, so in that sense, it's more of a success than Watch Dogs or Titanfall in that.
Oh yeah,
capacity.
certainly.
Yeah. So
yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, so we're not discounting it based on that. So if you're a big Destiny fan, and you're listening to the show, like we're not ripping Destiny for just what it was out of the gate, because obviously it could never have just stopped there, because that's not what it was supposed to be. But my biggest point was, look, games are being released, and they're not there yet. And that was the biggest problem with a lot of games this year. Moving on, we'll see that crop up a little later. Okay, so the next big event was on September 15th. Microsoft acquired Minecraft creator Mojang. So basically what that means is if you want to play Minecraft in the future, you're probably going to have to play it on something Xbox Microsoft related, which is interesting.
Hey, going back to the Vita, they're promising that it's still going to come out. So Vita users, there's something for you.
There's one new game in 2015, and it's Minecraft Vita.
That's the only game? What are we saying?
I don't know. Whatever. I'm losing it. We've been doing this for like 3 hours now for the listeners at home. A little look behind the scenes. We've been podcasting for like 3 hours, just dealing with all these audio issues and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going a little insane. And a good game that I think I might go play, release some stress after. Great segue. September 26th, Hyrule Warriors for Wii U came out. Basically, huge gap for Wii U games between Mario Kart 8 and Hyrule Warriors, but that kicked off sort of the release season for Wii U. I don't have a lot to say about Hyrule Warriors that hasn't already been said.
Yeah, we talked about it a good bit already. I still haven't played it since the first 2 weeks that it released, so I need to get on that. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's good. Good game.
Good game, not stellar, but yeah.
I felt like I just had, like, I wouldn't have mentioned it under normal circumstances. Like, if the Wii U, I mean, I might have said something. If the Wii U had, like, a bunch of great games, I probably wouldn't have mentioned it. That's sort of the nature of it, though, right now for Nintendo console owners, is, like, you pretty much have to buy every big game that comes out, because that's it. That's all you got. So, whether or not it's great, if you want to play something new, you have to get it.
But I think the people who have Wii U's are going to be into those big releases anyway, so it works out.
Well, that's also true. But like, would I normally be considering getting Yoshi's Woolly World, for example, if there were a bunch of like AAA games coming out next year? I mean, I have a wife, so yeah, but not for me.
I think you dug yourself into a hole of the types of people who would buy a game like Woolly World.
Well, no. She's in the room and she's listening to me record the show, and she was like going, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll buy it if you're here, but I wasn't ripping women or anything.
No.
I was just, geez, man, I'm getting accused of everything today. Okay, moving on. Oh, okay, big one. Smash 3DS, October 3rd. It was huge at the time. You remember how many people were excited for Smash 3DS?
Mm-hmm.
I never picked it up just because, I mean, really, you're buying Smash 3DS, you are pretty much, you're going to destroy your 3DS. Sorry.
Yep, I did. Oh well, I'm getting a new one anyway. That was the rest.
I knew better. I've played enough Melee. I've gone through enough controllers already to know that playing Smash on a portal will just not a good idea. Zelda like how if I get Smash on if I get smashed on the Wii U, I will not play with the gamepad ever.
Yeah, Stash 19 on the Zelda board broke off his circle pad, but he likes it that way. He likes his new circle
I like it
knob.
that way too, actually. I've been playing it with him, like, well, this is more comfortable. So, I don't know. I think it's comfortable. I feel like I have more grip on it, Yeah.
Keep that in mind, Nintendo, for your next portable iteration of a console. I used the word iteration.
Oh, okay. It's been so long. I don't think you used it in the last show. And we were talking about a new game.
Yep.
And you didn't use the word iteration. Wow, that's okay. That's a running joke, by the way. If this is your first podcast that you're listening to, that's a running joke. Don't think we're like weirdos.
We are weirdos, but...
Well,
that's not the primary reason. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, next game.
Yeah, I've got three here. None of them. I haven't played any of them. Actually, honestly, I haven't played many of these games. Just because one of them's on my backlog, and a bunch of them are just whatever. Alien Isolation on the 7th, Borderlands the pre-sequel on the 14th, and The Evil Within. Anyone have anything to say on those? I know Alien Isolation is another example of a game being released that just probably wasn't there yet.
Alien Isolation, for the most part, is a huge hit. It's just hit or miss with the AI. But for me, these games, two of them, Alien Isolation, The Evil Within, nope.
Not interested.
I'm too much of a weenie. I cannot play scary games. I will just pee myself and cry in my sleep and have nightmares all day.
But that's why you're Piddle.
And night. Yep, exactly.
Appropriate.
Borderlands. I've never been much of a fan for just loot games, and that's sort of what Borderlands has always been about. Just massive amounts of loot and cool guns, and I mean, if you're a fan of the previous game, Borderlands 1 and 2, then by all means.
But it was received pretty well. So I don't have anything negative to say about Borderlands. It's just I've never tried it. Maybe I'd be interested, maybe not. Based on what I've seen, probably leaning more towards the not. But that's fine. October 24th, 2 games for Nintendo: Bayonetta 2 for Wii U and Fantasy Life for 3DS. One was received well, the other one was received not quite as well. I bet you can guess.
I obviously, Fantasy Life was a huge hitter and got like 10 out of 10 Game Informer.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't sexist like Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, obviously I'm joking. Bayonetta 2 was very well received by reviewers and players alike, despite Gamergate. #Gamergate.
Yeah, that was a really bad time for that to happen, for that game.
How have we not talked about Gamergate in terms of...
because we want to avoid it.
Because I don't give a crap about it.
Oh, thank God.
But well, yeah, we're not getting into that at all. I am not touching that subject. Just get it away from me. Bayonetta 2, have not played it yet. It's on my backlog. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play that and Shovel Knight and Child of Light at some point during the next 2 weeks before we do the Game of the Year episode, just so I can have my bases covered for games that I own. Bayonetta, I played the demo. Bayonetta 2 was awesome just from the demo. Like, I've never played a demo and thought, oh my gosh, this could be my game of the year.
Yeah, that doesn't happen a lot.
And I feel like I have to buy it before it becomes too scarce and is suddenly worth or selling for like $120 used on eBay, which I feel will end up in. Yeah, it's going to happen eventually.
Yes, it is. It's that kind of game.
Yeah, it's that kind of game.
I feel bad for all the people who, like, you remember the Operation Platinum thing where they're like, let's get this game to sell 1 million units. And I don't really know how many units it's done. Not 1 million. But, I mean, it's like, come on, people, support these games when they come out. Even if they're not...
I feel bad for it, and then I realize, wait, I'm part of the problem because I have not bought it yet.
Well, yeah, that's on you, dude. I bought the game. I haven't even played it yet. That's how devoted I am. So...
well, you're a rare breed of
I'm also
gamer,
insane, so... Yeah. The 28th of October saw Sunset Overdrive, basically Microsoft's first big, huge, like, exclusive game in a long time, since Titanfall, really. Thoughts on Sunset Overdrive? Piddle, you've played it.
It is fun. It is like a weird combination of Jet Grind Radio and Ratchet and Clank.
That sounds awesome.
Tony Hawk. I mean, it's got style. The game is colorful. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, I know some reviewers took issue with that. Me personally, I mean, I think it fits. I mean, pretty much it's you're parkouring your way all throughout a huge like city, shooting up a bunch of sort of zombies along the way. And you're doing it with insane guns, which is sort of like Insomniac games. That's their staple. I mean, with Ratchet and Clank and Resistance, they always had crazy guns. And Sunset Overdrive it's no different. It's no different. You've got a rocket launcher that shoots explosive teddy bears.
They do such a great job. They're so creative with all that stuff. It's crazy.
You've got a shotgun that sort of has a bit of sexual innuendo with it and fires. It's called the Flaming Compensator. It's one of my favorite weapons. And then, like the parkour, you can grind on You can grind on pretty much anything. You can bounce off of cars. You can bounce off of all like tables, canopies. You can even grind across the water in this game. So no need to worry about slow swimming or dying in the water when you fall in it like Infamous. You are just going to skate along the water like anything else. It's fun. It can get a little repetitive. There's not much to do really other than like, jump around and kill stuff. But I mean, what is there? It's done very well.
Yeah, I've always said if I get an Xbox One, I'm getting that game with it just because it just looks so good. Like, yeah, I mean, I saw the game, I'm like, yeah, this looks awesome. I wish Wii U had this because that's the only console I own from this generation. But someday I will get an Xbox One, and someday I will experience Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, it's a great new IP from Insomniac Games, and I really appreciate how they continue to try to push out new ideas.
Okay, so then November 11th was the next big day, and then a week after that as well, a ton of games got released in that span. Many of which I thought
if your game came out on November 11th, well,
you're in trouble.
It was a bad day for you.
Yes, because a lot of them were just kind of glitchy messes. Assassin's Creed Rogue and Unity. Apparently, they're making 2 games a year now, so whatever. And then Sonic Boom, which is a disaster, and then Halo Master Chief Collection, which for a long time was just a broken pile of garbage. Right, Piddle?
Oh, yes. Okay. So much to talk about with these 3 games.
Keep it brief.
I'll try, but I mean,
okay.
It underlines like a growing problem in the industry with releasing games that are just not finished just to make a deadline, and then with the idea of, hey, we can patch it all later, and everything is going to be okay.
Before you go any farther, I just like to point out Sonic Boom was actually, the release date was pushed up. So I can't explain that, but whatever. They moved it a week forward. They didn't even push, so whatever. I guess they thought it was done.
They just realized that no matter what they were going to do, it's going to suck. So
yeah, might as well shoot ourselves in the neck rather than the
might as well move it up away from Smash, just in case, maybe. I don't know.
Probably what it was.
So pretty much the Master Chief Collection, I mean, Halo, it's Microsoft's baby. And they pretty much try to split the game up and like who was going to develop it among multiple different development companies. And for whatever reason, it didn't come together very well. The matchmaking is a mess. Or it was a mess for 3 solid weeks. Like, you couldn't get into games. Games would crash out. Stat tracking wasn't working. The campaign itself each of the campaigns had their own issues with getting achievements. And I mean, it was pretty much like unplayable. People who played it, I mean, they played it because the multiplayer is just that good, and it's that much fun to play once you do get in. But the general consensus is it has destroyed a lot of the faith that people have in 343 Industries, which the company that took over the Halo series from Bungie. It's destroyed a lot of the faith in them. And I don't know what kind of effect it'll have on Halo for the future, but it's not good, and it really did not work to Microsoft's advantage to push this one out. Assassin's Creed Unity is a game that they actually like patched it in order to remove a lot of the graphical features of it, just because the frame rate was so bad. And this game, like, it looked great. It was just the frame rate was inconsistent. And now they've patched it, and it looks worse.
It drives me crazy that the game industry like does this. Like, they just like, we gotta get this deadline before Christmas so we can get the game out and it'll sell. And it's like, well, yeah, it'll sell, and yeah, you can patch the problems, but I'm sick of games being released and just not being done. And there's just been so many examples of that this year, and we're actually going to have an article over on the ZB.net about this at some point in the near future. Someone's going to take that and run with it, just because it's such a problem now.
Yeah, I think there's an issue with the AAA. The AAA model is becoming unsustainable with all these graphical, like the graphical power is getting pushed, but the amount of effort and manpower it takes to sustain that and utilize it well and they're not giving themselves the amount of time they need as developers to polish it and things like that. So
yeah, like you're not even going to hear this podcast until 2015 because we got so much polishing to do on it. So,
Actually, we should probably patch it in later.
Yeah, let's
just release this podcast right now. Let's stop recording and then we'll patch it later.
Yeah, we'll also we'll finish it later and then we'll release the patch edition later. Wouldn't it be funny if we actually like did that for one episode and just like see who noticed?
Yeah.
Like, maybe some point next year we'll just do that. That'd be funny.
Incoherent ramblings from Spiegel and Hex.
Well, that's every episode, dude. So okay. Let's move along. We're pushing the time limit again. So let's rush this and get it done so that it's a good product. Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. This is the Sonic Boom of the ZB Network podcast. November 18th, huge day for games. Only one game really deserves criticism for being unfinished. That was Little Big Planet 3, and that was just kind of a buggy mess too. But Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Far Cry 4 won Best Shooter. Grand Theft Auto 5 won Best Remake, and Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor won Best Action Game. So a lot of big games, a lot of awards there. Star power.
Big week.
Yes, I have nothing to say in any of those games because I have not played a single
either.
one. But I really, really want to. So, for whatever that's worth.
I'm in the same boat, except for Little Big Planet 3.
Not interested.
I'll just glaze over that one.
I didn't love this series in general. Like, I just never...
To me, I mean, it's really just for people who want to create. The physics-based platforming just feels... It doesn't feel tight. And when I play platformer, I want it to be like a Mario. I want it to be like a Donkey Kong. I want it to be tight.
Have it set, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, couple more, guys. And I have one other piece of news to bring up when we get to it, but Pokemon on November 21st, both new Pokemon games and Smash Brothers, which we've obviously talked about at length. Yeah, I mean, we don't even need to talk about it, really. It's Pokemon and Smash. I mean, it's like Nintendo's answer to the 5 big games that came out on the 18th. And guess what? They both worked, and they both worked really well. So, no patches required, right? Yeah, so Pokemon and Smash. And then also on November 21st, a bunch of Amiibos came out, which I stupidly bought all of. But maybe now, in retrospect, it's not so stupid, because 3 of them have just been discontinued, reportedly. Marth, Wii Fit Trainer, and Villager are now supposedly being discontinued.
Yep. No more production for those. I think a lot of people were we talked about this a little bit, Spiegel. People were assuming that the Amiibos are kind of like telling of what plans they have for future releases. Like, is there going to be an Animal Crossing on Wii U anymore because they're discontinuing the Amiibo for Smash? And I don't think that's necessarily a logical train of thought, just because if they're not selling well, like, why produce more? No one's buying them. Why produce more? So they're just discontinuing them. It's not saying that there's not going to be an Animal Crossing. There probably will be. They seem to be doing that every platform.
I guess my question to that would be like, well, why would you stop creating Villager for now? I mean, unless you're thinking they're going to release whole new lines of Amiibos specifically for certain games,
Yep,
which
that's what they're going to do.
Oh, that's going to be so annoying.
Yep.
I'm not going to buy 400 Amiibos. I'll tell you that right now. I'll buy 50 of them. I won't buy 400. So, okay. Piddle, have you bought any Amiibos?
Not yet.
Well,
not yet.
Yeah, don't fall into that trap.
I'm sort of afraid to. I think I'm going. I don't know. I want them, but at the same time, I think it's best for me to just not dive into that.
I've only bought 2.
Evil. Oh, I don't even want to think about it.
Let me give you and the rest of our audience some advice, okay? If you fear for your sanity, do not buy these Amiibos, because you'll constantly be like, oh, when does the next wave of Amiibos come out? I gotta buy this one and this one and this one. And, like, constantly worried about, like, whether they're in good condition and, all this stuff. And it drives me insane. I don't want to buy all these things, but I have to now, because I'm OCD about it. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sad that we had to lose Zyber, because I did want to talk about this with him, but December 2nd, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 Remix Final Mix Super Mega Turbo Championship Edition was released.
Director's Cut.
And, I don't know. It has quite a name. HD 2.5 Remix. I still don't understand how you can only have half a game, but whatever.
Yep, that's that. Kingdom Hearts. Convoluted story, convoluted titles.
Like they didn't name Borderlands the pre-sequel Borderlands 1.5, although that would have been probably just as effective.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and then last night, December 5th, well, not last night because you're hearing this later, but on December 5th, the Game Awards were held. We talked about that in the last episode. And Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was released as probably the last major-ish, it's not major, but it's a major-ish release of 2014. I've played Captain Toad. I don't think you guys have, right?
Not yet, but I'm going to today.
It's very enjoyable. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I have played it. I have played it in Super Mario 3D World.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. Well, there's only 5 of those in this game. It really is more than just what you played in Super Mario 3D World. It really is. There's more to it. It's only $40. It's kind of a budget type game. Definitely worth playing. My wife loves it, so there's that at least. Happy wife, happy life, as they say. Not to stereotype, because your wife could be happy and you could be miserable, I guess. But
let's not get into a philosophical discussion about marriage.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for that. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, because this went a little bit longer than I expected, but not too much longer. So that's good. We've been podcasting for several hours now. We are all exhausted. So you know what? If you liked our show, and you can show support for our exhaustion by liking our show on YouTube. You can subscribe to us. You can put some comments in there. I actually wanted to do user questions for this episode, but
nope.
No way we have time to do that. I'm exhausted. I got to go eat food because I'm hungry. Piddle has to go swimming or something. I don't know. And
I need to recover from the sickness. Talking this much is not being good to me.
Yeah, you guys have set Hex's life back by like 5 years now.
Yeah, thanks. I'm only going to live to like 40 now.
So,
but you can make up for it by subscribing to our channel and also checking out the ZBN.
It's not a small gesture, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribing really means a lot to us. It
does add years back to our life.
It's funny, every time I see a new comment, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a new comment, let's go read it. So even if you have like nothing to say, it's still pretty funny to like watch our reactions to getting new comments. So, we should
actually record our reactions to comments and then post them as little mini-sodes.
We should have like a comment of the week type.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll table all this, but in the meantime, get your comments in so that we can work on it. So yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed our show, do all the stuff that I said. Sorry, Zyber, if you're listening to this end part that we couldn't get you back. It wasn't working with the audio. We already had enough problems as it was with mine and Piddle's, so we apologize. We're going to get this fixed for next week. And for everyone else that was listening, thank you for sticking with us with these issues. Thank you for Hex for being willing to edit all this stuff together. Thank you to Piddle for being a guest. Thanks to myself for, I don't know, I didn't do anything. But I don't know. I wasn't sure I was going to end that. But thank you for listening to the ZB Network podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I can't say thank you enough. That's why I've said it so many times. Thank you, and good night. Ugh. Oh, that's exhausting.
Oh.
Tired. QJ's staring daggers at me.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We were supposed to go out to lunch like an hour ago.